Alright folks, we've returned. Let's start chapter 2 of A Murder Carol.
Bobby was at the homeless shelter Monday night. What is this about?
There's a crime committed. We just want to make sure everyone's involved.
Matthew, the law-abiding citizens of Concordia are asleep in their bed, dreaming of Christmas. But Rowdy Rick never got home tonight. He seems to have been murdered in a back-alley brawl. Now we shall find his killer. Firstly... Wait, Matthew, did you hear that noise? There it is again. It seems to be originating from the fireplace. Let's see.
At 3 o'clock I woke up again.
Whoa.
I heard voices. I came downstairs, but I couldn't find them.
Matthew, what happened?
To go back to bed, that everything
Dang it, I've been smoked out. Heavens, what creature are you? And what strange spell conjured you up in this room?
You mean he's not a priest already?
I ain't come by dint of magic, mister. I fell into the fireplace from the chimney. I be a chimney sweeper. Well, I'll be damned. Dust yourself off, boy. Marshal Matthews shall hear your story.
I think for virgins and I think for purses. You found this in the trash. It belongs to Janie Doyle. It's got $250 in it and a dozen condoms.
looks like Mr. Freaky Clean Yoder's.
What he's doing in the victim's chimney goes by Pip. What is your name, boy? And why aren't you home tucked in bed? My name is Pip, sir. I have no bed nor home. Papa's out of work. He says ain't nobody in Concordia want to hire an Irishman, so I had to leave my family and fend for myself. Oh, that is very unfortunate. Luckily, I'm small and agile, so I can earn a few shillings cleaning chimneys. I plan to sleep in Rick's fireplace tonight. Awful cold out there, and it ain't like Rick could be needing his room anymore. Is that so? What do you know of Rowdy Rick? He bought me the farm, mister. Killed, he was. I heard it from the men in the gambling room. I hid myself in the chimney. They didn't know I was there. A gambling room, you say? Where is this place? In the cellar of the old alehouse. Rick and his chums play cards there all night. I knew there had to be a gambling den around here. Matthew, fancy a child discovering it before we do. Marshal Matthews shall take stock of this gambling den, Pip, and you boys stay out of trouble.
You haven't asked Jamie Doyle's family for forgiveness, have you? Can't face them.
Then let us help you. Tell us what happened.
Still can't.
I'd already started the fire. I didn't know he was there. He came up behind me. He startled me. I swung the flashlight. He went down.
Okay.
Blood started pouring. I didn't move.
This interview is over. His mother called me.
We have a confession, Counselor.
Well, you don't have to hide it. They won't get it unless I get to talk terms with the ADA.
Oh, look at this. I think I see a clue.
Where should I deal?
Torn
I have
paper.
a confession and a murder weapon with his prints all over it.
Stick a fork in him, Cressler. He's a victim of abuse, working out his rage against the church that ruined his life.
Jamie Doyle was not the church. It was an innocent victim.
A transvestite poker fresh from a trick. In light of the psychological
Locked box.
inflicted on Bobby, once I'm through with the jury, he won't serve.
He killed a 16-year-old lady trying to burn down a church. I could try that in my sleep.
The second the jury hears the words priest and abuse, whose side do you think they'll be on?
That's his room in the basement. Next to where they kept the sports equipment. Father Michael called it the lair. He said the boys went in as lambs.
My word, Matthew. This place is about a stone's throw away from the crime scene. I'll be damned if Rowdy Rick wasn't playing here before his end. The box must be a gambler's treasure chest. We shall inspect its contents, and those torn shreds need swift hands to restore them, Matthew. Oh, why not? Let's take care of everything. Right now, I already got the first star.
Did he touch you?
He put his arm around me.
BQE. Sounds like a bridge in New York.
He said I had good strong thighs.
Never in my life have I seen a device resembling the one you pulled out of that box, Matthew. But our young Charlie is an expert in all contraptions. Time to request his assistance. Yes, it is.
Said I had to pass a test.
What test?
6 hours. And the torn paper. I'm pretty sure this will be 12.
It's a mystery. He's here to help me. All I had to do him.
Got it.
He said,
A sinister development, Matthew. The message scribbled on that playing card says, "You are dead, Rick. Let us make haste and collect a sample of that stain. It may give away who threatened our victim."
Before fibromyalgia, I was energetic.
I was active. Then the chronic, widespread pain drained my energy. My doctor said moving more helps ease fibromyalgia pain. He also prescribed Lyrica. Fibromyalgia is thought to be the result of overactive nerves. Lyrica is believed to calm these nerves.
So, Lyrica can significantly relieve fibromyalgia pain.
There we are,
and improve
8.
function, so I feel better.
Lyrica may cause serious allergic reactions or suicidal thoughts.
Perfect. We have a sample of that substance on the card. The killer dealt to threaten our victim. We better ship that specimen to our laboratory, Matthew. What's invisible to the naked eye will give up its secrets to Viola Pemberton.
Side effects are dizziness, sleepiness, weight gain, and swelling of hands, legs, and feet. Don't drink alcohol while taking
That's right, 12 hours.
use machinery until you
And let's start this up. Get the rest of the stars. See you for that. Alright folks, we've returned. Let's get the results of the strange device. Matthew, I've been hard at work of late. I barely had time to call on you. Madeline tasked me with designing Christmas lights for our airship. They run on electricity. Just the fireproofing seems to be a challenge. Considering half of New Haven has just burned down, I do hope you overcome that difficulty. But now, young Charlie, educate us about this contrivance we found in a gambling room. Oh, that'd be a mechanism for cheating in card games, Matthew, fastened to the arm under one's clothing. It slides cards to the player's hand by way of pulling a string. Did you say card games? We already know playing whist is one of our killer's pastimes. Can you tell us who conceived of this device? Inventors are proud of their inventions, Matthew, and this instrument bears the mark of Trickster Tim, a known sharp dealer in New Haven. Trickster Tim, eh? We shall apprehend him for his gambling habit and see if he knows anything about Rick's murder.
You won't know unless you try. Call now. You have nothing to worry about. They bill Medicare and your insurance company. You pay nothing up front.
About his cheating device.
Painless catheter sample sent right to your home.
Trickster Tim, are you the owner and inventor of this device? Damnation, I know every card trick in the book, but none that shelter me from meddling detectives. Marshal Matthew, I know the police frowns upon gambling, but it's my sole talent to earn a living. Unless I win tomorrow's lottery, in which case I shan't deal cards ever again. You shall be lucky that cheating is not our business tonight. A fellow named Rowdy Rick was murdered. We believe it was a gambler that caused him to cash in his chips. Rick's dead? You'd be betting on the wrong horse if you think I did it, Marshal Matthew. I want 100 shillings from Rowdy Rick tonight. I'd be a damned fool to kill a man who made me so prosperous. You do well to behave yourself, Tim. Our concern tonight is murder, but we still have room for cheaters in our cells.
$28 a week. And this setting will take for only $24 a week. Because I can pay as I go. Flex shop
And the
is
transparent
so well.
substance now?
Apply now for a spending limit of up to $2,000.
Behold, a fearsome apparition. What strange visitors intrude upon my peaceful night?
Code on your screen.
It's just us, Viola, Matthew and I. Oh, forgive me, Matthew. I was reciting from a play our troupe shall perform tomorrow, on Christmas Eve. A terrifying tale of a man visited by ghosts and... Never mind the ghost, Viola. Unless it's the spirit of Rowdy Rick coming to help us solve his murder. Then let us turn our minds to matters of science. The material Matthew collected from the playing card is consistent with human saliva. Someone must have spat on this card. Most objectionable behavior, if you ask me. Whoever spat on that card did worse than that, Viola. They wrote a death threat to our victim. Can this specimen identify them? There were minuscule traces of tobacco snuff in the saliva. Snuffing tobacco is another reprehensible habit of your killers, Matthew. Splendid work. This tobacco-snuffing killer shall be ours before the new day dawns. This is the perfect time to revisit the crime scene. Our new discovery shall put a spring in our steps.
Getfoodforward.com. For your free kit, go to getfoodforward.com.
He was a violent individual with
But first of all, as I go into the next crime scene, you're going to notice something extremely different. Look at this. I decided to buy some cash, and I decided to equip the cat from Grimsboro, from the last pet shop in the Grimsboro area. But I'll still use the Dalmatian.
Florence's print. That was another one of the things that really ensnared him. He denied that she'd ever been in the vehicle. And yet her thumbprint
Broken pieces.
obviously can't have been there if she wasn't in the truck.
Police believe when Florence walked home that night, she was simply in the wrong place,
Star.
wrong time. They saw her walking home. They knew one another casually, and Rodney
Brass knuckles.
When she got into his truck,
20.
she left her thumbprint on the dashboard. Instead of taking her home,
Matthew, we ought to recover the writing on that burned paper. We know only too well that that fire could be a means to destroying criminal evidence. And those broken pieces shan't be beyond repair in your able hands.
Berryman dragged her from the truck. Her necklace broke, leaving several links underneath the driver's seat. After
49
the
more.
Berryman stabbed Florence to death, and drops of her blood fell onto his sneakers. During this
Teacup, property of Maggie Scrubber.
saw his truck in the vicinity, and later reported it.
A chamber pot in the streets of Concordia? I have no words. According to the inscription, the victim's landlady claims ownership of this device of a scatological nature. Tossing aside chamber pots in public is disgraceful. I did not expect such conduct from Mrs. Scrubber. Not to mention this evidence places Mrs. Scrubber on the scene of the crime. I agree, Matthew. She ought to answer a few questions.
She was young, a good student with her whole future ahead of her, and the loss of
About her chamber
someone
pot?
like that with their whole life ahead of them and a lot to accomplish is any loss of
Mrs.
life
Scrubber,
is tragic.
we found your chamber pot thrown out on a public thoroughfare. That alone is an offense. Worse is the fact that it was found at the scene of your lodger's murder. Please explain yourself. That is my chamber pot indeed. I broke it on Rick's head when I discovered he was gambling away the rent. I pleaded with him, told him I needed the money. With tenants like him, I ain't got enough to buy a pinch of snuff. How am I to feed my family on Christmas Eve?
Forensic evidence is
But Rick just laughed and promised he'd pay me more than I could win on the lottery. Humbuggery it was. I knew it.
there really was just no way.
So you went out to Rick, broke the chamber pot on his head, and left him for dead, didn't you? I wish he was still very much alive when he went in to gamble away the last of his shillings. You'd better be telling the truth, Mrs. Scrubber. The rent is cheap in jail, you know.
By taking what we found during that almost 24-hour period where we were running to find this guy, I don't know that we would have been.
I'm going to take a
successful in
quick
the
break here, folks. I'm going to take care of something real quick. I'm very close to a level up, so I'm going to take care of that. One moment. Alright, I got myself up to 375. 25 more until my next ranking up.
And that autopsy was conducted at the funeral home of E. Lee White, the victim's employer. Apparently, White started the examination before the coroner arrived.
The medical examiner remembers
Ooh.
Mr. White calling him and saying,
Matthew, that burn note is a threat. It clearly says death for Rick. The rest of the note looks like calculations of a financial nature. Owing this, credited that. Smart thinking, Matthew. We do have a suspect in the business of finance, Mr. Bleak, the miserly moneylender. Further to the point, Mr. Bleak was Rick's employer, and it was seen he blamed the victim for a shortfall in profit. Quite right, Matthew. What Mr. Bleak owes us now is an explanation.
Was murdered. But why?
In fact, I might be needing the rest of the stars, so sit tight.
The testimony asserts the possibility that
Alright, I have all the stars. Let's talk to Mr. Bleak now.
And who were the beneficiaries of Frankie?
Mr. Bleak, you said you employed Rowdy Rick as a debt collector, but you didn't say you blamed him for a shortfall, and that you wished him dead. What rotten luck that you should find my note, Marshal Matthew. I shan't deny it. Employing that lout was a capital mistake. He was good at beating up debtors, but he refused to hand over what he collected. When I confronted him, he threatened me and had the cheek to say I should have paid him a decent wage. How, I asked. I even tried my hand at whist in a desperate bid to balance my books. Not that anyone cares about my hardship. Perhaps Rick had a point about paying decent wages, Mr. Bleak. Bah, humbug. I'll pay decent wages when I win the lottery, Marshal Matthew. Now let me close up shop and go home.
Brown had been convicted a few years earlier for fraud. Lawrence Scott and William Brown...
Makes you wonder how they actually get up to the airship. Matthew, Christmas is only a night away, but for the poor of New Haven, it is a time of misery. Money is at the root of everyone's woes, and the most likely motive in Rowdy Rick's murder. Mrs. Scrubber was seething because her lodger gambled away the rent, lining the pockets of cheaters like Trickster Tim. Mr. Bleak claimed to be too poor to pay Rick a decent wage, blaming him for a shortfall in profit. The only one making an honest living is a child who left his family, for his parents cannot afford to feed him. What a sad state of... Matthew, there's an emergency! A beat officer called for backup. He says his life is in danger. Constable Ramirez.
Discharged from the service because he couldn't pass the particular
We'll
test.
find out in Chapter 3. See y'all for that.